season 2 of Wide Open Throttle. This year we're going to be having roundtables so that we can discuss some of the YouTube content we're producing and the comments it's generating, as well as a lot of the stories that go up on motortrend.com that don't make it to the YouTube channel. So today we're going to start off with a head-to-head aftermath. Johnny, you recently did the ZR1 versus the Viper with Randy Post. Generated lots of comments, lots of debate. A lot of people were surprised that the ZR1 actually won the competition. Were you among them?
No. I mean, look, you know, Chevy's been winning Le Mans for a decade straight, you know. I mean, they just dominate the GT class of Le Mans. And they take a lot of their racing technology and they put it back into the street car. A little bit surprised maybe that it was a little bit of a better street car than the Viper, although, because, you know, the Viper's supposed to have this new interior, but not too surprised really.
Okay. So. Well, another comment was, why not the GTR versus the Corvette?
There's simple math in that. I mean, we've already got the lap times from Laguna Seca. I mean, we've been at this track and Randy Popes has driven these cars now for 3 or 4 years, so we have pretty good baseline data.
The GTR is 500 pounds heavier. The GTR is way down on power compared to the ZR1 and the Viper. So
yeah, on what planet do you compare a V10 rear drive, coupe, two-seater, against the V6 turbocharged all-wheel drive
4-seater?
Yeah, 2+2. It doesn't make any sense, especially when in the video we overlaid how similar these vehicles were. I mean, they were what, 2 horsepower. So 4 pound-feet of torque, and within
17 pounds, 13 pounds,
something like that. I mean, you can't find two cars more evenly matched on the planet.
Absolutely.
So it's insane. Those people, I don't know what they think.
Well, one interesting thing was Ralph Gilles' response to it. He actually tweeted about the Comparo, and his exact tweet was, "There is a lot more left in the car. Randy has always struggled with the Viper." Randy's not here to respond to that, but I would like for you guys to respond to that.
You know, he did a lot more than just tweet about it to the whole Twitterverse. He actually reached out to us separately, privately, and really gave us an earful. And I think I was very accepting of it. Johnny and I managed to talk him off the ledge, basically, and explain, I think in greater detail, what some of the deficiencies of the car were. We talked a lot about the tires. We talked a lot about how we found out that the Viper was sort of an early build and maybe it was a little rough around the edges. But also we reinforced our faith in Randy. I mean, Randy is a top flight driver. There's nobody in the world that really does what he's able to do. He's consistent and he's incredibly quick. He is typically fastest on his second lap out. He does a warm-up lap, and then he'll do 1 or 2 quick laps, and then the third or fourth lap is a cool down, because by that time he's driving the car so hard that he's going slower. The brakes are gone, the tires are gone. We know that's why we use him. That's why we pay him to come out. That's why he's our pro shoe.
Not only that, but we just did the BRZ versus Ford Focus ST again at Streets of Willow, and 8 months ago we did another comparison test with the BRZ. Different BRZ. Same track Randy was driving, and our testing director, Kim Reynolds, he overlaid the laps, the graph of the laps, and he was hundredths of a second off. I mean, he's so consistent 8 months apart.
Yeah.
So
we're asking him to do something incredible too. I mean, we don't give him a lot of time with some of these cars. I mean, he's walking into a car that he may have never driven before, certainly not the new Viper, and we're giving him a couple laps to go out there and set the fastest time he possibly can without wrecking it. And he does every time.
There's another point to this too, and Best Driver's Car really hones in on this. It's about a car giving you the confidence to take it to the limit. And if you actually deconstruct the lap, if you take the data that we got, you'll see a couple of things. The Viper's not as good through the corners. There's a bit of tire there. The Corvette had better tires, but that's how it comes. That's how it's equipped.
It's not just tire.
And it's the brakes. The Corvette has much better brakes, so tires and brakes give you a lot of advantage. But also, and you'll notice, if you go over that hump on the way into turn 1 there, that in those cars is a big cojones piece of the track. You could go over there. He was busy in the Viper. There wasn't that calmness that you get in the cabin of the ZR1. And I've never met a racing driver in my life who would want to tame and wrestle a car to the ground lap after lap. He wants the car to work for him. Yeah. And I think that's the key difference between those two cars, the way they're set up now.
It's like Randy said, the Viper has more understeer and more oversteer than the Vet, meaning it's swirling around. You can't stay at the edge of the friction circle as long in the Viper as you can in the ZR1. And just by the way, turn 1 in Laguna, he was 140 miles an hour in the Vette and 138 in the Viper. And real quick, we know those cars are identical, in terms of straight line acceleration. So that meant that the Vette came out of turn 11 that much better, 2 miles an hour over that straightaway better. So
Yeah,
it's just a
that-
faster car.
We have that in the data, which we ended up sharing with the SRT team. It's like if you look at it, because there were some claims made that maybe the ZR1 was a ringer, that it had more horsepower. But again, the speed differential, where the ZR1 was fastest was through the corners, higher average G and higher speed through those corners. It wasn't like he was walking away from it out of the corner.
It was identical. They're both identical
Well,
0-60, identical trap,
And key
quarter
to that,
mile
it
identical
wasn't just
trap.
posting higher G in the corner, but it was sustaining higher G's
exactly.
longer. So it was gripping longer than the Viper was.
And look, Ralph's point is fair to one degree. This is the first iteration of that Viper out of the box.
Absolutely. Oh, it's great out of the box.
The ZR1 is, an evolution. It's the best C6 Corvette, and they've had a lot of time to work on it. So this one's out of the box. We're going to see more versions of the Viper come. There's probably going to be a follow-up to the ACR.
There's a track special one coming.
Absolutely.
But that does highlight, and to round out this question, it does highlight why he's so upset. I mean, honestly, the Viper should have knocked it out of the park and handily beat the ZR1. Why? Because, well, there's a new Corvette coming that should be quite a bit quicker than the old, C6 Corvette. So you understand, you get why he's upset.
Yeah, that's where I want to head now with the conversation, to the new C7 that we all got to see at Detroit. As far as winners and losers go, that tops my list of the winners. Can I get an amen?
Yeah, I mean, it was the Corvette show. There was really nothing else. I mean,
Yeah.
a couple of cars were interesting.
But some of the changes piss off some of the purists, and I was really excited
Who are
about all
these
the
purists?
changes.
I'd like to meet.
Oh,
a
you know how many
purist.
comments about the taillights we're going to see?
No, well,
Just
look.
the taillights alone.
I thought the car was spectacular. I talked to some of my designer friends, and they had some. There's lots of lines on the car. There's lots of creases in the surfacing. But if you look at the proportion and the stance of the car, it's very much like a Ferrari 599, and that's no bad thing for a Corvette. But beyond that sort of really those creases, that edginess to the actual surfacing, really makes the car look modern. And for me, I've been in America now one Corvette generation, so I've almost acclimated.
Congratulations.
Yeah. To me, I didn't have a problem with the taillights, which seemed to be the single biggest complaint. I'm so over the 4 round things, and I thought if you'd had the 4 round lenses at the back there, the car wouldn't have looked as modern as it does.
Look, it's the 911. I think that the 991 911 is the best looking 911 ever. It's gorgeous. And what's the knock on it? Oh, it looks just like every other 911. So if they would have kept the round lights like they had on the C4, C5, C6, and then the C7, oh, it looks like every other Corvette. So they're damned if they do, damned if they don't. But they did a good job.
So what other cars do we want to add to the list of winners?
Well, the Ford Atlas basically rained all over Chevy's Silverado parade. I mean, people just completely forgot about it. And that, I think it almost stole the show from the Corvette. It was such a big deal.
I think that if that car never sees the light of day, it was such a great PR coup. Just so they actually hid it from other Ford employees. Like no one had seen it. It was like a couple of the truck guys and the higher ups, and everyone was surprised. And that's what's great about auto shows, is that sense of excitement.
Yeah.
Well, it's not often these days at auto shows you actually get news breaking. I mean,
Yeah.
the way the business is run now, it's not like when I was a young lad and started that, you actually went to every auto show and every review you saw something that you hadn't seen. Now, because of our production schedules, we had the photos of the Corvette in advance. We'd seen everything, but we hadn't seen this truck.
Yeah, and I think the genius of that is that, again, it could have stolen the show. I love the name Atlas.
it's
Great
brilliant
name.
name.
Great. I mean, they'll never get rid of F-150, but what a name.
Atlas is a great name. But then, the scuttlebutt was that this was supposed to be the all aluminum F-150. Yeah, they kind of announced the truck, they showed it, and then, oh, by the way, it's actually exactly similar to the F-150 that you can buy right now with a couple of
But that shows the power of great design.
Yes, everyone forgot about it because it's a gorgeous looking truck. You're like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, and no one's clamoring for an aluminum pickup truck. They want that thing. It looks like a Clydesdale. It's fantastic.
What about the losers?
It's hard.
Lexus, the IS, Lexus IS is such an ugly, deeply ugly.
I just disagree with you. I don't think it's that.
Oh no, sorry, I'm with him.
So-
That whole
But it's like I don't know. It's I just think in 20 years that people are going to look back and be like, what was Lexus smoking? Because Frank said it really well. Frank Marcus. There's only so many geometric shapes you can stick on the front of a car. They've just trying to copy Audi. They've gone bankrupt, and you wind up with whatever that is.
Yeah.
I mean, the GS doesn't look so hot. The ES and with RX and everything, they put that spindle on. Okay, they're putting a spindle on an existing car. But this one was like freakishly ugly. It was ghastly.
I would say that.
I'm sure it's a great driving car.
No. I would say that I'm not trying to be an apologist, but again, Toyota has been zinged for not doing enough, for making bland and boring cars. And the CEO Akio Toyoda's got up and said, we recognize this. We're gonna make a change. And maybe this could be the pendulum swinging too far in the other direction, but I definitely think they deserve some points for trying. You can't say that it copies anything else out there.
No. One of those deep sea fish.
Well, I mean, so they are doing something, and there are several touches that I really liked. I thought this execution actually of the grille was probably one of the best. It does look like the LFCC that we saw, the concept that we saw, and then that's as much as I said the exterior. When you jump to the interior, seeing some of the LFA touches in there, like the slide,
interior is great. Yeah.
The interior is some of the best.
Interior is fine. And like I said, it's a cut down GS. I know it's going to drive great, but it's just a freak. It's just
I think it was Bill Mitchell said, there's a difference between being different and being good. And he said, walking through the lobby of the Waldorf Astoria hotel with your flies undone is different, but it's not good. And I think it's the graphic on the front of that car is just going to look horrible in a few years' time because
it looks horrible now.
It looks horrible now, but it's just going to it's not going anywhere, and it's just ugly. It's just ugly.
Well, all of our coverage of the highs and the lows of the show proved very popular, as usual. Also popular was a post that we published where we asked journalists and audience members alike which cars they think need to lose weight. So let's talk about the bloat and the way this trend is going. My vote is the M6 right away. Every time I drive the car, the only thing I'm aware of is just how heavy it feels.
Well, I would say anything.
Any M.
How sad is that? Any M. Where have they gone? No, but I would say anything on the 5 Series, 7 Series, Rolls-Royce Ghost platform is just bloated. And BMW actually said that yesterday.
Yeah, no, I talked to the M people at the show and asked about that. And they kind of said, well, there's only so much you can do when you start with a heavy car. So
look, part of the problem is the way cars have evolved anyway. I mean, I remember when I first tested a BMW 3 Series, which was in 1985. And we did the whole thing about, it felt like it was hewn from a solid billet of steel. That car weighed 2,200 pounds. But since then, we've got, tougher safety regulations. So, A-pillars have to be thicker. We have to have more airbags on them. Customers want sound systems, air conditioning, massage seats. So there's this real, the car engineers want to make the cars as light as possible. Big wheels weigh a lot. Big brakes weigh a lot. They're stuck with the legislative thing. The customers want more features in them, and to offset those weight gains means using very expensive materials like aluminum or carbon fiber. And carbon fiber has a problem in that no one's figured out how to make carbon fiber panels with the cycle time you need to create a panel in a mass production environment. So it's expensive. There's no easy way around it. I feel, it's a real challenge.
Totally fair. However, the M5 is still 400 pounds too heavy. I mean, if you compare it to, like the S6, let's say, S6 has a lot of aluminum. It's much lighter. You know what I mean? Both V8s, both twin turbo V8s. One's 400 pounds heavier than the other for no good reason.
I hear, the Camaro is another one that we've long said all needs losing weight. And of course, the next gen car is going to come off the component set,
the Alpha platform
that does the ATS. But what I'm hearing through my sources at GM is that they were so focused on reducing weight on the ATS, they're having to go back and re-engineer some of the components because, bear in mind, this car's going to have some pretty powerful engines in there. They're going to have the big banger V8s in there. And a lot of those little delicate suspension parts were never made to handle that sort of power and torque. So, the ATS has been highly optimized and it's a terrific job. I mean, some of those suspension parts are like, filigreed, pieces of sculpture.
Swiss cheese.
But you know, they're having to go back and toughen them up for the Camaro application.
But the ATS weighs less than a comparable 3 Series.
yeah, and it's a great
American
achievement.
Cadillac is lighter than a BMW, right?
Well, and
I mean,
they're
it's a
swinging
great
the
achievement.
opposite way. I mean,
Yeah.
GM. I mean, I think Bob Lutz said at one point, you know, we made all the cars heavy because they felt more substantial and they didn't feel cheap. You know, the people complained that they felt, you know, too cheap.
It was a quick way. It was
Yeah.
a quick way of fixing NVH and
Sure,
that sort of issue.
sure.
So they made the car slightly. He admits. He said, you know, we overdid it.
But the good news is that everybody is going on a diet. I mean, we were talking about how the horsepower wars are basically over, but manufacturers like AMG and M are not out to pursue higher specific output. But
they totally are.
They can but there are better ways because the thing about losing mass, reducing weight, is that the benefits aren't just in obvious things that people want, like higher MPGs, greater efficiency, but in handling.
Yeah, sure.
Reduced wear and tear on other components. I mean, when you reduce the weight of a vehicle, you influence all of these other things that ultimately make for a better drive. They don't make them less expensive, unfortunately, but if they can figure out a way to do it, it's a win-win for everybody.
All right, gentlemen, until next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.